17-year-old Isoke lived with her mother Amara. Her father had died when she was an infant, and so, for 16 years, Isoke had only known her mother as her immediate family member. Despite advice from friends and family to remarry, Amara had refused to, but recently, Isoke had begun to notice a certain glow on her mother's face. Her mother and her had no secrets, but she had recently started receiving calls secretly, leaving the living room to her bedroom to receive a call which always left Isoke giggling at her mother. One day, as Amara prepared for work, she checked up on her daughter's sleeping figure. Attempting to close the door quietly, Isoke woke up to her mother's retreating figure. "Mom," she called, still sleepy, her voice deeper than usual. "Yes, baby," Amara replied with a smile. "I didn't want to wake you up." This made Isoke frown. "I really get to see you off to work," Isoke sulked, as she stood up to follow her mother out of the room. As Amara attempted to enter her car, she stopped to inform her daughter that she would be bringing a special someone for dinner that night. Isoke was so excited the entire day. She knew her mother had finally decided to introduce her future daddy. She cleaned the house top to bottom the entire day, even taking time to watch YouTube videos to cook meals for her mother and her boyfriend. That evening, as Isoke waited for her mother to return, she fell asleep in the living room. After pacing back and forth for hours, her mother was late today. She had disclosed to Isoke that she was held up by traffic and would return late. Exactly 10 p.m., the doorknob was pulled and Amara walked in to find her sleeping daughter. "Is that your daughter?" a man's voice asked, which woke up Isoke. "Mom," she called as she opened her eyes. She was met with the most beautiful man she had ever seen. Soon, Isaiah was introduced to Isoke as her mother's fiancé, and all the meals Isoke made were warmed up for dinner. "You cook really well," Isaiah complimented Isoke, which made her heart flutter. That night, as Isoke laid in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about Isaiah. His perfect face was all she could think about. As her eyes closed finally to allow sleep in, Isoke's dreams were filled with Isaiah. As the days went by, Isoke soon found herself developing strange feelings for her stepfather-to-be. She couldn't explain why, but she was drawn to his eyes, his voice, and kindness. She began to fantasize about being with him, and soon, her desire turned into an obsession. Amara, her mother, was oblivious to her daughter's feelings, but she noticed a change in Isoke's behavior. Isoke became distant and withdrawn, spending most of her time alone in her room, lost in thought most of the time. Amara thought it was just her being a teenager, but little did she know that her daughter was harboring a dangerous desire. Soon, wedding bells were heard, and Isaiah and Amara tied the knots, finally giving Isoke a complete family, or so Amara thought. Mother and daughter moved in with Isaiah, as was expected when a woman marries a man. One Saturday morning, Isoke woke up to find Isaiah making breakfast in the kitchen. "Where is Mom?" she asked. Isaiah looked at her with a smile and said, "I want to surprise her with breakfast in bed," was his reply. "Oh, that's nice," Isoke said. As she pretended to be excited, she asked, "Can I help with making breakfast?" "Of course," was Isaiah's reply, an opportunity to bond with his daughter he would not turn down. The entire cooking process consisted of Isoke flirting with her stepfather, battling her eyelashes and giggling at his jokes. Isaiah, unaware of Isoke's intention, found himself enjoying his stepdaughter's company, but he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. As the days went by, Isoke's advances became more brazen. She would touch her stepfather's arm, brush against him, and even steal glances at him when she thought no one was looking. Isaiah tried to ignore her behavior, as he had no experience with teenage girls. Isoke's flirting continued unabated, and Isaiah began to feel uncomfortable. One day, as they were watching TV together, Isoke snuggled up close to him, her leg touching his. Isaiah tried to move away, but Isoke held him tight. "Daddy, don't be like that," she whispered, her voice husky. Isaiah's heart raced as he tried to remove himself from her grasp. "Isoke, stop this," he warned, but she just giggled. Amara walked into the room, oblivious to the tension. "What's going on here?" she asked, smiling. Isoke quickly moved away from Isaiah, her face innocent. "Nothing, Mom," she said, her voice sweet. But Isaiah knew something was amiss. He tried to talk to Amara about Isoke's behavior, but she wouldn't listen. "You were just being paranoid," she said, dismissing his concerns. One day, Amara informed Isoke and Isaiah that she would be traveling for a business trip for 2 days. Isoke, who was overjoyed but pretended to be sad, spoke tearily. "Mom, don't go," she sobbed. Amara laughed and asked the pair to take care of each other. The first day Amara was away, Isoke behaved herself, surprising Isaiah. But the next day, as Isaiah sat in the study working, Isoke brought over a cup of hot chocolates as it was raining outside. She apologized for how she had been behaving and left. That night, Isaiah fell asleep, drugged from the tea, only to wake up on nothing but a towel around his waist in the study floor. Next to him was Isoke. Alarmed, he woke her up to inquire what she was doing there. Why he was naked, but Isoke only laughed and reminded him her mother asked them to care for each other. Later that day, Amara returned from her trip to the tension in the house, but was still oblivious to the atmosphere. She couldn't stop herself from talking about how her trip went to her family. Some days later, Isoke came to Isaiah with a shocking announcement. "Daddy, I'm pregnant," she said, her eyes gleaming with mischief. Isaiah was stunned. "What are you talking about, Isoke?" he asked, his voice shaking with anger. "I'm carrying your baby, Daddy," she replied, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Isaiah felt like he had been punched in the guts. He knew he had to confront Amara, but he was afraid of what might happen. "Amara, we need to talk," he said, his voice urgent, but Amara just laughed. "What's going on, Isaiah?" she asked, her voice light. Isoke has been flirting with me," replied, his voice firm. Amara's expression changed from amusement to shock. "That's ridiculous," she said, her voice firm. Isoke would never do something like that. But Isaiah knew what he had seen. He knew Isoke's behavior had been inappropriate, and now she was claiming to be pregnant with his child. He knew he had to get to the bottom of this, no matter what it took. He knew nothing happened that night with Isoke, but it was his words against ours. Isaiah was determined to get to the truth, but Amara was in denial. Despite how hard Isaiah tried to explain things, she could only see Isoke as her innocent daughter. "You're just being paranoid, Isaiah," she said, her voice firm. Isoke would never do something like that. One day, Isaiah decided to confront Isoke directly. "Isoke, we need to talk," he said, his voice firm. Isoke looked up at him, her eyes innocent. "What's up, Daddy?" she asked, her voice sweet. "I know what you've been doing, Isoke," Isaiah said, his voice stern. "I know you've been flirting with me, and now you're claiming to be pregnant with my child." Isoke's expression changed from innocent to calculating. "So what if I am?" she said, her voice defiant. "You're my father now, and I want your attention." Isaiah was shocked. He had never seen this side of Isoke before. "You're trying to ruin your mother's marriage," he said, his voice angry. "And you're using me to do it." We both knew nothing happened that night. As he uttered these words, Amara walked in. "What night? What did you do to my daughter?" she yelled. Immediately, Isoke began to cry. "Mommy, he raped me," she said. Isaiah felt a surge of anger. He knew he had to put a stop to this before it went too far. "Amara, we need to talk," he said, his voice urgent. But Amara would not listen. She was blinded by rage. "Isoke is trying to ruin our marriage," he said. "And she's using a fake pregnancy to do it." "That's ridiculous," she said. Isoke would never do something like that. As the days went by, the tension in the house grew. Isaiah knew he had to do something, but he didn't know what to do. He felt like he was living in a nightmare, and he didn't know how to wake up. One day, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He packed his bags and left, leaving Amara and Isoke behind. He knew it was the only way to escape the chaos that had become his life. As Isaiah walked away from the house, he knew he needed to find a way to address Isoke's daddy issues and clear his name. He couldn't shake off the feeling that Isoke's behavior was a cry for help, a desperate attempt to get his attention and fill the void left by a father's absence. He decided to seek the help of a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and teenage behavior. With the therapist's guidance, Isaiah began to understand Isoke's motivations and developed a plan to address her issues. Meanwhile, Amara fortunately walked in on Isoke having a conversation on the phone with a friend, talking about her antics towards Isaiah, which helped Amara to finally realize her daughter's behavior wasn't just teenage hormones, but a deeper cry for help. She reached out to Isaiah, apologizing for not giving him a listening ear, and she began to work with the therapist as well, learning how to communicate effectively with Isoke and address our unmet needs. After several months of therapy, Isaiah and Amara reunited with Isoke, who had made significant progress in addressing her daddy issues. The three of them worked together, rebuilding their relationship and creating a healthier, more open dynamic. Isoke learned to communicate her feelings and needs effectively, and Isaiah became a positive male influence in her life, providing guidance and support without crossing boundaries. Amara learned to listen and understand her daughter's needs, becoming a more effective and supportive parent. In the end, they learned that with love, support, and open communication, even the most challenging issues can be resolved, and the family can heal and thrive. Thanks for watching and listening to this point, guys. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other videos because I'm sure you will definitely find something that catches your fancy. And as always, see you in my next video. Bye, besties.